XRP Treasury and ETF boom. We are past speculation, just referencing data, just referring to the S1 filings. And we know that the suits got the champagne on ice. They're going to have themselves a heck of a party as they launch not only half a dozen XRP spot ETFs, basket ETFs that include XRP. They're getting ready to take public companies and build out digital asset treasury companies, putting XRP and other digital assets on their balance sheet. This is not just for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum have plenty of ETFs live, have countless digital asset treasury companies putting it on their balance sheet. And finally, that moment is coming for XRP. It's not speculation. It's not a riddle. It's not a decode or a conspiracy theory. It's fact. It's just a matter of timing this thing. And so we're watching this time tick by here, waiting for our much higher prices of XRP. We're here to do what we do every day, which is confirm that the fundamentals are still solid, and then give you my analysis on where we're at, timeline, targets, my perspective. If you appreciate what we're doing, I just ask that you guys help us out by liking and sharing the content out far and wide. It's free to do, really helps us out, and we really couldn't do it without your support. So thank you so much for stopping by. In tonight's live show, remember, you know how we got to go through it all. The good, the bad, the ugly. We start with a couple updates. We get into the ugly, where it's pretty bad. There's some things breaking. I have it written down on my notes right here. I got a bank CEO arrested. I got a private investment firm wire and security fraud allegations, $500 million scheme, record vehicle repossessions. And then we have a most recent bankruptcy process that just started. 750 lawyers showed up to the first bankruptcy hearing. The vultures are coming out. Jamie Dimon said there's not just one cockroach, okay? So we're going to see how many there really are. It is getting scary out here. President Trump set to meet with President Xi. Counterparty's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent meeting with his counterparty from China. Hopefully a trade deal gets done. Hopefully our government opens back up when this takes place. If it does take place, maybe we'll just never have the government open back up again. I've seen some people comment that. They say, nope, government's never going to open up. XRP ETFs will never go live. I saw some people say ETFs aren't going to go live till the Clarity Act passes. No, the two are not correlated or dependent on one another at all. Eventually, I know it's been so long in this XRP journey, but eventually those ETFs will go live. And so let's go through the bad, some of the ugly. It's scary out there. You know what we do. We're taking cover. We're staying liquid. And we're just going to continue stacking fundamental investments. We're not going anywhere. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your support. Looks like we already got one super chat coming in here from Chris Evans. Thank you for the 10 spot, sir. Hey, Zach, I'm heavily invested in XXRP. In your opinion, do you think that they will let it run when XRP appreciates, or maybe do a forward split to keep the price reasonable? Thanks for all you do. They can always adjust those ETFs. This is the futures ETF, right? The 2X long. I believe that's the one from 2Cream, right? Now, when I interviewed Sal Gaberte at XRP Las Vegas and spoke with him backstage, he made it very clear to me that, he was trying to make it clear to the community and audience that it's a leverage product. So it's not one that you're typically going to hold. If the market's moving sideways, you're losing money. If the market's going down, you're losing money about twice as fast as you normally would just holding spot. So this is one that when you feel like XRP is about to move, which, it looks like it's going to, I've laid out my timeline in the update earlier today. This is when you would move into a product like this, right? You're looking to get short-term exposure, which is essentially giving you a 2X long on XRP. That's what the product is intended to deliver, right? Without speaking on behalf of 2Cream, explaining how Sal had, broken it down for me. And so it's one of those products that's going to be correlated somewhat, pretty heavily to XRP's price, but not always one that you want to hold. So I would just make that note. It's going to roll just like everything else that's tied to XRP. I'm going to show you the data. It's not speculation anymore. We know that the institutions are going to trade XRP products in the billions. They already are. So when we get spot ETFs, this is the kicker. Those are physically backed with XRP, and they're going to have to go out and purchase that XRP. It's starting to circulate around some people. And we talked about this actually, whether or not the ETF issuers had already bought XRP. They have not. Now, they could have in separate deals, but specifically for funding the ETFs, typically what's always done is they bring in the capital and then they're going to go out and secure the shares. So they're using, the investors' money to go out and secure that commodity, right? That Bitcoin, that Ethereum. And in this case, it's going to be XRP. They don't front run. They don't load up beforehand because it starts to break the rules when it comes to creating markets and selling products at too much of a markup, right? There's no way for them to acquire the asset at a tenth of the price. Picking up 20 and 30 cent XRP, this would have had to have been years ago, and then turning around and selling it at too big of a markup. So the SEC has rules against that. I don't know all of the details, but I just know that what we see typically is they bring in the investor funds and then go secure the assets. Similar to the digital asset treasury companies, Ripple has moved some XRP into the wallets for the new treasury company, Evernorth. Chris Larsen has moved 50 million XRP. So they are investing in kind. And we noted that some of the BlackRock ETF investors are starting to do this too, where they hold Bitcoin in a cold wallet or outside of an ETF product, but they want the security, all of the other things that come along with having BlackRock as your manager. They're willing to pay for that with institutional custody and everything else, right? They're willing to pay BlackRock the fee. And so they're actually investing in kind. They're turning in Bitcoin for the ETF from BlackRock. It's truly incredible to see. And so what's going to happen with the digital asset treasury companies and the ETFs, this is the title of tonight's episode, so it's good that we're getting right on into this. After they go live, then they will be acquiring the asset based off of how much investor demand there is, right? It's going to happen with the digital asset treasury companies. It's going to happen with the ETFs as well. This is very important dynamic to understand. Because I'm not here to just deliver baseless hopium. You guys know this. I'm going to come every single day and I'm going to give you my real analysis. We're going to have to cover some stuff that's not so good, but then we are going to bring it back around to why we stay so excited about this opportunity. XRP going to my base case predictions is very conservative. And I hear you guys that are telling me that you think I'm conservative. XRP needs to be at a higher price. You believe in a higher price. I do too. It's just a matter of timing. And I've learned to rein back in my expectations because it's not so much a problem in crypto. It's not so much a problem with Ripple and how fast and how much they want to push XRP adoption. It's the regulations that still haven't passed. It's the government shutdown that's taking place. It's the ETFs that have been delayed. It's Gary Gensler filing an appeal 5 days before his butt's about to get fired, dragging the case on through the first part of this year. Eventually this all ends though. And so you have a blessing. It's really a privileged opportunity. I was thinking about this earlier today while I was on a drive. I wasn't listening to any music, any podcast, any YouTube, anything. Just driving in peace. For those of you guys that have children, maybe you know this feeling. Or without children too, I used to do this too. Just go on a drive. Just you and your thoughts. And I was thinking of how privileged all the new people that get in. And a lot of folks are going to take this for granted. Right? They're in with a little bit of an allocation, right? They invested whatever that number may be. They made a little bet into XRP and then, they've come in the last year and they're so ungrateful, complaining about price, telling me, Zach, I don't like you, all of that, instead of just embracing the opportunity to pick up the asset below its fundamental value, right? And this is what we've been taking advantage of, whether it was silver and gold, which is now flown to new all-time highs. The tops are not in on gold and silver, by the way, either. Zoom out on your chart. Have a little patience. This isn't crypto. Folks want to call the top compared to what? The top this month, the top this quarter, even the top this year. Even if that was the top this year, it's not done. We still are going to run a long ways. And that's the thing with the XRP timeline that I laid out this morning, is I'm trying to explain to folks, guys, we're still here. We're going to make a run towards $10 before the end of the year. And I have deja vu because I feel like I'm living through October 2024 all over again. It's just not a big election year, right? But in October of 2024, we showed you market went down 27% for XRP, other cryptos worse. And that was one of the best buying opportunities at a 40 cent 48-cent XRP right before it pumped almost 500% to $3.30. And now some members in the community have screenshots of tweets of XRP community members capitulating and crying, being little crybabies. Not to pick on anybody, but some of these people like to be a little bit more vocal than others. When they decide to make a personal investment decision, they try to FUD other people out. All these people that said I had to go back to 50 cents, have to go back to 80 cents, have to go back to $1, sell at $2, don't be greedy, the founders are going to dump on you, then it goes to $3. By the way, all these guys are gone. All these TA gurus, all these guys that said XRP wasn't going to have a bull run, they're gone already, let alone where we're going to go at the end of this year. So this is going to be the finished blow off top to this cycle. I think we give a good shot at $10. There's just a lot of sellers before $10 that we got to clear out of this market. And then I believe that we'll set the stage to have ETFs and the inflows from that, along with digital asset treasuries, along with 40 million. I got that note here too. 40 million XRP's already been locked up for Flare. This party's just getting started. 40 million, soon to be 4 billion XRP locked up in DeFi. When it's locked up in DeFi, you can't use it for cross-border payments or liquidity. When it's locked up in a hedge fund, you can't use it for liquidity. When it's locked up in a digital asset treasury company, you can't use it for liquidity. When it's locked up in an ETF, you're not using it for liquidity. So when we do the numbers on, well, XRP would have to be at said price if we did 14% of SWIFT, like Brad Goinghouse says. Do we have enough XRP? Right? You might be working with an assumption of 10, 20, 30 billion XRP for those flows. It might be a lot less, which means that the other variable, the price of XRP, needs to be a lot higher. Now, once again, my whole deal here is backed by real analysis. I've never felt more solid in my conviction. I don't use the word belief, but it's just a matter of data that we have in front of us now. We keep on bringing it back to that because it's something that we can hold on to, just like the real partnerships, real data, real inflows are on the way. And so let's get right on into the episode here. We got a lot to cover. I see some super chats already coming in. And so I'm going to go through the update. I'm going to try to do so, stay on point and be quick with it. We got to get through the bad and the ugly, and then we'll get back to the good stuff. Which is, as I titled it, remember, I'm not here to clickbait. I don't want you to watch this content. I think that you need to watch this content. So let's get right on into it. We're going to be talking about it and bringing it back to XRP Treasury and ETF boom after we get through some of the ugly. Senate blocks GOP plan to pay workers as Schumer shutdown drags on. The Senate rejected a GOP bill to pay essential federal workers amid the shutdown, with 3 Democrats crossing party lines. The Shutdown Fairness Act, there you go, fell short. Okay, so we still have a shutdown. I'm not going to read the rest of that. You guys get the point. But I am thinking that this is about to wrap up shortly because we have the U.S. Department of Agriculture notifying all 50 states that SNAP food stamps benefits will not be fully funded through November if this shutdown remains. Democrats are cutting off food stamp benefits nationwide. Full halts announced Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, Nevada, North Dakota, New Jersey, and New York. These states have publicly stated that they will halt, delay, or cut November SNAP benefits if the federal government shutdown continues beyond late October 2025. It's basically all the rest of the states. The remaining states may temporarily avoid full cuts by tapping state budgets, separating. Again, this is temporary and cuts will likely come after November. I don't want to push FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, none of it. I'm not here to fearmonger or pander left, right, up, down. This is the DC shutdown. They want to call it the Schumer shutdown. Speaker Johnson wants to get up every day and do his press conference. And I will say, I will make one political comment before we move on. I don't know who's running strategy for the Democrats and thinks that they're winning on this. We're just not seeing that in the polls. We're not seeing in the activity. So I think that this is a strategy that's not working too well. But I also blame both sides of the aisle for doing the DC dance. And this is something that we've always brought it back to. These guys are going to play around. These guys are going to delay things and get in our way. But at the end of the day, they're coming to accepting blockchain technology as the fundamental base layer of the new financial system, right? The new rails. And so at the end of the day, we're here to understand this so that we can make money. And one thing right now is you got mass fear. China tariffs are going to go in. If Trump says anything about tariffs, the market's ready to spook out and get scared. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is going to meet with Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng tomorrow to discuss trade. Next week, President Trump is meeting with Xi, and that's going to be on Thursday, right before those tariffs go into effect. So the reason why I mentioned the benefits in that issue with the government is because I'm going to show you here the bank deposits, the bank reserves are already low and tapped out. So we're already on the verge of a banking crisis on top of this government shutdown and benefits not going out. This is going to be bad if it were to persist. I do not think that it will. I think that they're going to come and end the DC dance, finally come into sync. Okay. And they're going to, bring this government back open. And then I also believe that you're going to see a trade deal here pass with China. Now, if I'm wrong, which there's obviously that possibility, well, take cover. I hope you're liquid, and I hope you're ready to buy the dip because our market is so fragile right now. And I'm speaking of the broader stock market, the broader crypto market that's all fluff. I mean, guys, it's not just bank CEOs being arrested, private investment firms being charged with wire and security fraud and $500 million scheme. It's not just record vehicle repossessions. It's not just 750 lawyers showing up to the first bankruptcy hearing. It's also major blockchain projects like Cadena going bankrupt, also getting tied up in lawsuits. So this is why we say, still make your fundamental investments, but duck and cover because this is the world stage after all. And so you're trying to make a bet on DC. Which way is DC going to move? Flip a coin. Are Trump and Xi going to get a deal done? Flip a coin. Neither part. So you have pain on both sides, though. And the answer, once again, is debasing the fiat currencies, running up the debt. And the solution to the debt, currency, and liquidity crisis is the precious metals that are already at all-time highs. It is XRP that's already been at all-time highs and is going to go set another new all-time high. Some folks would say it would be Bitcoin. We could talk about that in another one. I could debate that. But the point being, if we don't open it back up, we will face a banking crisis. If we don't come to a trade deal, the markets are going to get smacked up again. Reserves plus reserves equal 5-year low. This is the reserves, the bank reserves, plus the reverse repo market at a 5-year low. Now, the reverse repo facility, this is a monetary policy tool operated by the Fed where it temporarily borrows cash from eligible counterparties, by selling U.S. Treasury securities or other eligible collateral overnight with an agreement to repurchase them the next day at a slightly higher price. The difference in price acts as interest. So we talked about the bank term funding program that launched after the banking crisis of 2023. We've talked about all these different liquidity houses, reverse repo, reserves, collateral, counterparties. And the main point that I've been trying to share with you guys is that it's so bad we can't even determine how bad it is or who owes what. Not only are the bank reserves low, and everybody's starting to suggest now, even JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, right here, this decline with reserves falling to 2.93 trillion per recent Fed data has led Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan to forecast the Fed ending quantitative tightening. And that was them reducing their balance sheets of treasuries that they were eating up, potentially flipping to balance sheet expansion to stabilize banking system liquidity. What does that mean in simple terms? I often think of the song Alabama, Song of the South, where he says, talking about the market crash, and he says, we were so poor that we couldn't tell. I always love that line. That's a great song, Song of the South by Alabama. And he's, telling a story of the Great Depression and how the stock market was crashing, but they were so poor that they couldn't even tell, right? They couldn't even tell. And so this is why I try to break this down for the common person that's just trying to understand, hey, what investments can I make? What can I do about this? It's bad. I understand that. What can I invest in? How can I position my business? What can I do to make sure that my job is still going to be around with this evolving economy? Now, let's get into the ugly. That was the bad. Here's the ugly. 2025, and a huge shout out to Kristen Shaughnessy. I just followed her today, or at least I thought that I did. I'm going to hit a follow there. independent journalist, former NWY1 anchor, reporter, TEDx speaker. Shout out to her. She's got a few posts here that I want to share. 2025 is on track to set a record for the number of vehicles repossessed. According to the data from the Recovery Database Network analyzed by CU Repossession, 2025 has seen over 7.5 million repossession assignments. You want a business opportunity, maybe? In fact, we had a guy who he actually was a repossession guy. He ran a repo truck. And I remember, I'm going to have to see if he's still in our Discord group. It's been a while since I've heard from him. But he was our repo guy. And that was a good data point, because he would say, that it was always a good recession gauge when those repossessions were going up. Authorizations given to an agency to recover a vehicle on behalf of a lender, it's 7.5 million in 2025. Based on historic trends, this figure is expected to reach a record 10.5 million by the end of the year. Although recovery ratios have fallen in recent years, potentially lowering the number of actual repossessions. Okay, but the point being, it's ugly out there. Now, when it gets ugly, when there's blood in the streets, well, this is when the vultures come out. Hundreds of lawyers rush in after First Brands files for bankruptcy. Quote, the bankruptcy filing discloses that First Brands carried some $6.1 billion of debt on its balance sheet against annual operating earnings of only about $1.13 billion. That's not counting another $2.3 billion in off-balance sheet financings and $600 million of unsecured other debt. Because First Brands is privately owned, its financial disclosures were scanty, leaving its lenders largely in the dark. How complicated is this case going to be? Well, consider this. When bankruptcy judge Christopher Lopez of Houston, which Houston seems to be the new facility where the private equity vultures like to take bankruptcy cases to, cough, cough, link to. We know about that unfortunate scenario, right? Christopher Lopez of Houston, Texas, the preferred setting for these bankruptcy private equity vultures, and the lawyers coming out of the woodworks, guys. An initial hearing on October 1st, there were 750 lawyers in attendance, 500 by telephone and 250 by video call. Now, I'm not telling you to be a vulture. I'm just telling you to be a fundamental investor and to take cover and understand counterparty risk, because it's ugly and it's going to get worse. I'm not done. Evolve Bank CEO arrested. Hey guys, this is data point after data point telling you that what is hitting the fan. The FBI has confirmed the arrest of Bob Hartmeyer, the CEO of Evolve Bank, at the bank offices on Poplar Avenue on Thursday. The arrest occurred as federal agents executed a search warrant at the Evolve Bank office, although the FBI has not disclosed the specific charges Hartmeyer is facing. Remember, all parties are innocent till proven guilty. CEO of Evolve Bank and Trust in August. He's the new one. Now, they've been under federal oversight for more than a year due to weakness identified in some of its programs by regulators. So these regulators who are watching, they've seen enough. Evolve Bank CEO arrested. I mean, guys, I wish that we could just clickbait hopium for you. I wish we could just deliver it. XRP to 10,000 this year. I wish that that's what our show could be about. But I got to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And folks, please stay safe. The risks of private equity, we're not in the clear yet. The storm is still over us. The co-founder of a Miami private investment firm is indicted on wire and securities fraud charges in an alleged $500 million scheme. The story raises a lot of questions. Now, this is a Big Four accounting firm. And by the way, this is what we need to be requesting of many people that we're going to invest in, is you have to get audited financials, reporting, and reserves. Tether, where you at? We need reserves, not from a shady accounting firm out of the Bahamas. It needs to be from the Big Four or from a very reputable accounting firm. Now, the big four is Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst Young, and KPMG. Now, my mentor, Dan Pena, remember, over 50 plus years in business. He calls himself the $1 trillion man because him along with his mentees have created multiple trillions in equity for themselves. And so this is my mentor, and he has always said that when it comes to your business and you're playing on the big scale. Now, obviously, if you got a small business, you don't need to have the big four accounting firms going through your books, right? But he's talking about when you go to play on the big leagues, when you go to play with the big boys and girls, that you need to have one of the big four accounting firms. And he also talks about having some of the top law firms. These are the types of firms when their names are at the top of the letterhead, you know we're talking business. And so in this case, we had a big four accounting firm. Deloitte was on the case at this private equity firm. Why didn't Deloitte spot the red flags in which unnamed institutional players were allegedly defrauded? Prosecutors claim that Joshua Wander, a big player in the football club world, pledged non-owned or double-pledged assets as collateral, falsified bank statements, and hid financial shortfalls to secure loans and investments. He also faces a number of lawsuits. Former CEO Damien Altfalla pleaded guilty and is cooperating. Quote, the defendants put forth an illusion of stability that was a years-long house of cards, Ricky Patel, a Homeland Security investigation special agent, said in the FBI press release. This alleged scheme was self-serving, siphoning funds meant for victims and leaving investors and lenders holding the bag. Folks, the cracks are widening when it comes to private equity, when it comes to private credit. We have the record vehicle repossession so far this year. 750 flipping lawyers showing up to the first bankruptcy hearing in one court case for First Brands. You know who always gets paid is those lawyers. Shout out to our lawyers in the chat. You got to have lawyers in your pocket. Like my mentor says, you want the big four accounting firms, and you want lawyers that are well known too. Bank CEOs being arrested. I mean, this is a $500 million private equity investment firm out of Miami. They're probably in the same condos with the TikTok trading gurus that I see. They do the buddy system. They pool the money together, 2 or 3 little buddies, little trader bros. Rent a little whippy whip, rent a little girlfriend, that's all these guys. And here it's all blowing up in front of us. What do? Well, you need to understand counterparty risk. And I've been urging the XRP community specifically about due diligence because we're going to have some of the best investment opportunities brought to us. You're seeing the service that's being brought to the XRP community, whether it be the decentralized finance, whether it be the centralized, whether it be the suits want to sell half a dozen XRP ETFs on top of over 20 collectively, whether it be digital asset treasury companies, whether it just be these centralized exchanges that are giving incentives for XRP holders, whether it be the private equity deals that we're going to be able to take advantage of. Due diligence is the number one skill that you can have. And discernment is right there with it. Discernment. To be able to see through this. Now, in the crypto space, we have a saying, trust but verify. Like I said, you want independent audits. You want reserves. What is the standard that Ripple has set with ROUSD? Rent a TV? Going through the roof? Absolutely. Buy now, pay later for burritos. It's not good out here. I don't joke about putting food on the table for anybody. It's not a joke. This is very serious. But understanding counterparty risk is key in this environment. As we're starting to see cracks, it's not just crypto companies going bankrupt. It's not just private equity schemes blowing up. It's not just bank CEOs being arrested and some banks on the verge of potentially They say it's not systemic. Moody's, the same rating agencies that said subprime was under control. You guys saw The Big Short. The ratings agencies, Moody's. It's all one big club. And this is what I'm referring to when Deloitte was apparently auditing the financials on this private equity investment firm, $500 million. So they got the big four, but apparently the big four missed it or something happened. I don't want to speculate much further, but I bring all of this up, the bad and the ugly, before we get to the good, because what difference is it going to make when your XRP goes to $589? Your XRP goes to $1,000, whether it be this year or in 5 years. What are you going to do next? Do you have good discernment skills? Do you understand how to conduct proper due diligence? Do you know which questions to ask somebody before you turn over money to them? Because I sure hope you do. Because we're seeing it blow up now, let alone when some of us finally have a bag. Right? When this crypto thing really turns around again here, and most of us are going to have ourselves a good time to finish off this year. If you've been stacking cryptocurrencies, if you're ready for this moment, it's about to get really good for you. It's just a matter of surviving this. Now, this is my flotation device. The Titanic's going down. This is my flotation device. Okay? Now, for an offensive measure, I know that there wasn't really helicopters back during the Titanic, but an offensive measure would have been, we're hopping on a heli and leaving ship. You know, maybe in this example, a better one would be, we have one of the lifeboats, but even the lifeboat, I feel like is defensive. The chopper's an offensive measure. The point I'm trying to get across is this is your safety device. This is your flotation device. This is not how you win, even though we're winning pretty good. Not bad. Outperforming the S&P 500. Not bad. But this is defensive. This keeps us afloat. This gets us away from counterparty risk. There's nobody that owns this besides my family. And by the way, you stuff these assets into what I got on my office floor right here, which is my revocable living trust. And then on the back side of the revocable living trust, you do the irrevocable trust, where you park all the family heirlooms and everything that you will never sell, which this might make it to the irrevocable trust too. Right? But then when it comes to offense, if you can't conduct due diligence, if you can't do fundamental research, you're not going to get anywhere in this game, crypto or any of it. And I want to just make the example and the point, and let's have a laugh about it too, because God bless them. There's a lot of smart guys, big reputations, big platforms, nice suits, right? Who have investment advice to give you. But boy, oh boy, Charlie Gasparino is back. Why is XRP getting crushed this month? Falling well below $3. Charlie Gasparino is back fudding XRP, folks. You know what that means. You know what that means. Charlie's back. Not only do we have Charlie back, you guys saw the piece that was put out by the Fortune writer, Jeff John Roberts, I think is his name. He likes to get cozy and comfy on stage with Vitalik Buterin wearing unicorns and rainbows. And in the background, there's rainbows and fairies and butterflies. I love that too. I was telling you guys last live, I got the fairy garden set up in the backyard. Well, it wasn't my idea, but the girls took over my backyard with the fairy garden. So that's okay. I like fairies and butterflies and rainbows too. But you got Jeff John Roberts. He gets real comfy with Vitalik Buterin on stage with fairy dust going on. And yet he says and describes Ripple as a goofy business. He's a writer for Fortune. AOL shares it out, which is so ironic in itself too. AOL, the fact that AOL is still around. You guys remember the old cell phones on AOL? Or they were internet, weren't they? I'm thinking of AT&T. AOL. AOL telling us about the new payment rails. Go figure. So Jeff John Roberts comes out with the hit piece, and now we got Charlie Gasparino running it. You know what that means. That means we're about to go. We're about to go set another new all-time high. Now, before we get into it, folks, CZ gets pardoned today. This is his statement. This is the statement from his lawyer. And this lawyer, this is interesting. By the way, if you guys weren't bullish enough, you guys better get bullish, because if you can't see the writing on the wall, whether you agree with it, disagree with it, CZ, Binance, speculation, allegations, lawsuits, settlements, all of it. Investments here, you know, they invest in World Liberty Financial. World Liberty Financial invests in them. They scratch a back. Somebody else gets taken care of. Either play the game, you know, or get played, because it's going to move one regardless of what you think about this, what you think about Trump, what you think about CZ. CZ's back. And that's a very bullish signal, by the way. Right, CZ, this is the statement from Teresa Goody Gillen, and she's been appearing at some of the SEC roundtables. She's actually formerly from the SEC. Goody Gillen, I like that. She has in her bio how you pronounce her name. Goody Gillen. Teresa Goody Gillen, on behalf of CZ. CZ was rightfully pardoned by POTUS for a single charge of failure to have an effective compliance program. No fraud, no victims, no criminal history, no money laundering. CZ is the first and only known first-time offender in the U.S. history to receive a prison sentence for this single, non-fraud related charge. The judge found no evidence that he knew of any illicit transactions and that it was reasonable for him to believe there was no illicit funds on the platform. Thank you for responsible, accurate reporting. Whether you agree, disagree, this market's about to absolutely rip again, right? Now, you might be asking, well, where's Ripple in this, right? Where's XRP in this? We've been saying how close Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, Stuart Alvarado was with this administration, with this White House, and with this Congress. And just imagine, if President Trump is willing to pardon CZ, just imagine the red carpet that he's about to roll out for Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, and team. An American-based company wrongfully charged by the SEC prevails and is now helping build out the White House ballroom. That's right, folks. The list of private donors for President Trump's White House ballroom has been released. Major progress is being made with demolition at the East Wing. The donor list includes Amazon, Coinbase, Comcast, Hard Rock, Google, Microsoft, the Lutnick family, and others, including Ripple, right down here, right below Palantir. By the way, Palantir is a user of G Treasury, the treasury management company that Ripple just acquired. That's right. Lockheed Martin, Microsoft, HP, Google, Comcast, Coinbase. Now, the Winklevoss twins did get in there too, representing Gemini. The Lutnick family. No taxpayer dollars are being spent for this renovation. It is coming from our private sector, and it would be coming from our good friends Ripple. They will be at that ballroom. They will be joining the dance. And we are going to extend that invitation back to the White House, with Ripple excited to welcome Patrick Witt from the White House's Digital Assets Council to our keynote speaker lineup at Ripple Swell 2025. So they're building out the White House, and the White House is coming to speak at Swell. This is a conversation you can't miss. Last chance. The deadline to request your invitation to attend is tomorrow, October 24th. Join us in New York City, November 4th and 5th, Ripple's Swell Conference, where the veil gets lifted on the banks and institutions that they're partnered up with, and just how cozy and comfortable we are with this White House and this Congress. And oh yes, at one time, the NSA. That's right, folks. Out of nowhere, I gotta take a sip of, I'm sipping on some Malbec tonight. Cheers, everybody. I was cooking up steaks for us. I had myself a nice New York strip steak, and the wifey, she says, "I've had more steaks this pregnancy than I've had my entire life." I said, "That's good. That's good progress." And so we cooked up some steaks tonight, and I figured, hey, let's open up the mall back and have ourselves a little live show tonight. So cheers, everybody. Thank you. But I'm not making this up, okay? NSA, that's where we go next with it. Stay tuned. David Schwartz out of nowhere comes in today, and he responds to a thread that was started by him talking about Satoshi back in 2022. Now, it's been basically 3 years to the day that this conversation was left, October 23rd, 2022. This is when he made the original post and this thread comes from. And then today, he responds to Chad Garlic House on X. This person says, well, you've worked at the NSA getting high-level information by your own words. David responds today, 3 years later to the day. I never got anything even remotely resembling high-level information. I had to certify that the thing I was working on would meet the NSA's requirements without even being allowed to see most of them. He goes on to share a funny story. And he actually shared another, where did he leave the comment? He shared another story from his website, and I went and read that. It was pretty good. But out of nowhere. Now, I find this so interesting because it's 3 years to the day when this conversation was taking place, when he said it's not defamation to say that Craig Wright's not Satoshi, almost as if David has some authority to speak on the topic. And then the fact, that he comes out here and says this right after Tucker Carlson makes this comment about Bitcoin being created by the CIA, and boy, has that put everybody in a tizzy. That upset some folks, right? You got Jack Mallers coming out and saying, it doesn't matter who invented math, who invented English, you don't need to know, and they came out of the woodworks and they did not like what Tucker Carlson had to say. And I find that to be an interesting perspective, considering that Tucker's dad was CIA and the privileged position that Tucker's had with a father that's been in the game, as we say, and Tucker obviously being very close to intelligence sources himself. But boy, did the Bitcoiners not like that. Boy, did they not like the fact that he just brought up the simple fact, which is a point that many of us feel, and it is kind of valid, right? Who is Satoshi? Do we need to know? Well, it is a risk that has to be accounted for when you make your investment decision, knowing that they have over 1 million of the coins, and just like the dormant wallet from over a decade, this was a wallet that mined a few thousand Bitcoin a long time ago. It was another dormant wallet that popped up today, right? And you have this happening all the time with Bitcoin. These dormant wallets popping up out of nowhere. Not saying they're going to dump on anybody. It's just interesting, right? How comfortable people are investing in it. And I'm not saying that we'll ever find out. Maybe we won't, right? But it's just been interesting to watch all the Bitcoiners kind of squirm around and get uneasy and uncomfortable with that conversation. And then out of nowhere, David Schwartz comes in and decides to make some comments on the Satoshi thread again, specifically talking about his time at the NSA. But I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat on tonight. I just thought that maybe I'd show you guys, and you could do that in your spare time. You guys can solve the riddle and tell me. And you guys can let me know in the comments down below whether or not you think David Schwartz is Satoshi or not. Now, we're approaching 1 hour on the show. We're at 43 minutes. That means we got 17 minutes to go. Let me get through this update. We got Ripple-backed Evernorth set to raise over $1 billion in U.S. Oh, we got a stupid ad. U.S. listing to hoard XRP token. Okay. This is Reuters, who interviewed the CEO of Evernorth. That's Ashish Burla. Now, this is what's interesting, what I wanted to show you right here. He goes on to say, we will look at acquisition opportunities. Burla said, adding that Evernorth will be hiring and building out an investment team as well. Now, today, and this is why I titled the episode, XRP Treasury and ETF BOOM, it's not speculation anymore. You're seeing the companies formed. We can't buy the ticker yet for this treasury company. The ticker is going to be XRPN. I'm going to be looking to buy it. I mean, I get more excited and more bullish when I see Ashish say that they're going to be looking at acquisition opportunities as well. It's no longer speculation. We're seeing the digital asset treasuries formed. We're seeing the ETFs filed. And now we're seeing the wallet transactions take place. 261 million XRP total sent to Evernorth one address from Ripple and Larson. So you got about 50 million XRP from Chris Larson that was used as an investment in kind is what that is called. In kind means that you're investing XRP, right? It's a little bit different because this is a treasury company that'll be investing in different things, doing DeFi, etc. But for, keeping it simple here, it's an in-kind investment of XRP, and then Ripple also contributing just over 200 million XRP as well. This is why I say it's not, hey, can we solve the riddle today? Hey, can we speculate on XRP today? Zach, can you make a clickbait hopium video about XRP going to 10K today? It's just a matter of, hey guys, the digital asset treasury companies are forming. The XRP is being transferred. And please note, this 261 million XRP that's being transferred, now we can see, okay, they have 261 million XRP already, on top of all the investment capital that they'll raise in cash, and they will use that to go buy more XRP. And so we're talking about $1 billion of investment capital going towards XRP. You have a couple hundred million XRP invested in kind. So we're talking about another couple hundred million XRP or more getting acquired. You're talking about hundreds of millions, maybe even over $500 million of inflows into XRP just from this one digital asset treasury company. This does not include the ETFs, but to tally it up, we're already at 11 XRP treasury companies, with Evernorth at $1 billion, Trident at 500 million, Weebus 300 million, and you add up all the rest of these, it's basically another billion. So you're looking at about $2 billion worth of investment commitment towards XRP. Ripple and Chris Larson invested in kind. All the rest of those investments are going to be dollars flowing into XRP. Inflows into XRP. And this is what we've been waiting for to really drive XRP up to double-digit prices. It's not going to be based off of me and you, retail, Joe Blow, and Sally picking up some XRP. That's going to get us probably close to $10 in my expectation leading up to the ETFs going live. But after the ETFs go live, in combination with all these other catalysts, this is what drives us to double digits and beyond. And it's not speculation. We have 20 ETF filings since 2024. They're not all spot. Some of them are futures or leverage, but about 6 or 7 of them are spot XRP ETFs. You also have basket ETFs that are going to include XRP as well. Those will all be buying XRP and locking up the XRP. And there's been some confusion lately, right? Have they already bought the XRP? The SEC has regulations around this. And typically, and what we've seen with the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs and every other ETF in existence, is as the investment capital comes in, then the fund manager goes out and buys whatever stock, whatever commodity is going to back that ETF. If it's an ETF that has to be backed by a stock, has to be backed by a commodity, it's a spot ETF, you have to go out and buy those shares. You have to go out and buy that Bitcoin. You have to go out and buy that Ethereum off the open market. And the other thing that's in place too that I think adds to this is the injunction that Judge Torres left in place against Ripple. So they cannot sell it to institutional partners who are going to be turning around and offering an investment, going to be offering a security, right? Those issuers are going to be offering a security. The judge has already ruled that contract, that type of sale would be ruled an unregistered securities transaction. So between the injunction and what we've historically seen on not only the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, but all other ETFs in existence, they take in the capital and then they go secure the commodity. They go secure the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, or in this case, the XRP. So no, the ETFs have not been priced in from a market perception. They also have not been priced in as far as the inflows that'll come into the asset. Now, when I say we don't have to speculate, the digital asset treasury companies have been filed. We take it one step further. We know the investment capital that they want to throw in. When I say we don't need to speculate, the ETFs have already been filed. We can take it one step further and we can look at the CME data that I'm about to show you, which shows us very clearly that there's billions, tens of billions of dollars worth of demand for XRP and XRP products. This is just 5 months of data from the XRP futures for the CME group. Since launching in May, we've seen incredible demand for this regulated product, ready for more control. Options on XRP futures are officially live. So they've already been live for 5 months with futures. Now they're going live with options, and you're already seeing 9 billion XRP equivalent traded. That's the equivalent to 9% of the entire XRP supply, just in 5 months. Okay. This is the equivalent to 26.9, almost $27 billion of notional volume in 5 months. Now, volume is different than inflows, right? But what we can clearly see is that there's been tens of billions of volume. Well, to get tens of billions of volume, you have to have billions coming in, billions going out, billions going back and forth. Confirming once again with hard data, you don't need a tinfoil hat. You don't need to solve a riddle. You don't need to ask, is it a full moon or a new moon? You don't need to ask how you're feeling today. The suits are feeling really good about this. I'm telling you right now that the suits are going to Ripple Swell Conference. They're going to be having themselves a good time as they discuss their ongoing work with Ripple, their ongoing work on the XRP ledger. Now we can finally admit that we're going to be using the XRP ledger. And this is why I titled tonight's episode, XRP Treasury and ETF Boom. It's not speculation, it's just data. It's not feelings, it's just facts. Now, does that mean XRP goes to the moon tomorrow? No. Please refer to my XRP, my final 2025 XRP timeline that I put out this morning. It's about a 20-minute long video. I break it down extensively. But we're zooming in on the chart right now on the 1 hour chart, and I'm watching us trade between the 0.5 fib and the 0.382 based off this retracement from $2.65, trying to recapture after the liquidation event of 1010. We pop all the way up here on October 13th to 265, pull back down here to 220, the order block that we called out, the 225 order that I got filled, the orders that all of you guys got filled because we were waiting. This is what market snipers do. We got our crosshairs on that target and we hit it. You know, sometimes you send one shot, sometimes you send a few orders, and you make sure it gets filled. I front ran it at 225. Happy to do so. And you know, I to continue with the hunting analogy, it's like you got a herd of elk and you decide to take the 5 or 6 point, even though there's a big one out back with a 10, you know, big rack, right? Big rack. But you decide, hey, it's okay. You know, I just want to put some meat in the freezer. So I'm going to take, you know, this one. It's okay, right? That's me front running, right? I front ran at 225. It's okay. Add to my XRP long at 225. But I told you guys that the order block was at 220. That filled up. And now we just watch. We pop back up here right above the 702 at $2.51. We did that on the 20th. And then we did that again here on the 21st. Here we are Thursday, October 23rd. And we're recovering back up here today to 242. But watch, because that's right where the 0.5 fib is at. So we've hit that level of resistance a couple times now. Pulled back here below the 2365 level that's at the 382 fib. And sorry if this sounds like a bunch of technical analysis jargon. I'm trying to keep it simple for you guys, right? I don't try to overcomplicate the technical analysis. What I do is I find fibs, I find order blocks, and I just front run them, right? If I have money to invest, I look to buy. And I told the Discord group, somebody asked me today what the order blocks are, what's the next buying opportunity, and I just said, you know, we've already front ran the Fibonacci right here at the 236. That's at 230. We already hit 232 twice in the past 2 days. And so unless we get smacked up big time in the market, we're holding that well. And I said I'd watch for us to go back and tag support here at 236. But this is all zoomed in. And down the road, we get a laugh about this. Oh, did you pick it up at this fib at 230 or 240? And we'll be talking about that when XRP is at 23 to 25 bucks. You know, are you up 9x or 10x on your investment is what you'll be asking, right? And my only hope is that when you're up 10x on your investment a year from today, is that you'll be able to say, I'm glad that I got enough XRP. I'm glad that I got enough good utility cryptocurrencies like XLM, HBAR, and others, right? I'm glad that I consolidated my portfolio from those crap coins and put it into real fundamentals and cryptos that were going to continue to run the bull run like XRP. I want you to be looking back after we do another 5 to 10x on XRP from here and be thinking to yourself, I'm glad that I stacked up. I'm glad that I didn't worry about 220, 230, 240, 250, $2, $3. When you're going to 20 to 30 bucks with ease based off of ETF inflows alone, what's the stress? The only stressful part is getting more cash to invest, which I feel you on that one. Absolutely. And this is why we're still grinding every single day. This is why we're not stepping or sleeping on this opportunity. We're not stepping back and taking it easy. We don't have time to chill right now. There's a crisis taking place in the financial system, a debt, currency, and liquidity crisis. But on the other side of it, okay, is where we see a fourth industrial revolution investing opportunity that comes once in a generation, maybe once in 100 years. That's what we get to take advantage of. Now, you've seen XRP in existence for a little over a decade, right? And it's interesting, the 10-year anniversary of XRP in 2022 actually marked pretty close to the cycle low for XRP in the bear market of 2022. This was some of the best buying opportunities at sub 30 cents for XRP. And when you look at the next 10 years for XRP from its creation in 2012 to 2022, it misses the bull run of 21, goes back down to 28 cents. Everybody, a lot of people are giving up on it. And then what it's about to do over the next decade, I think, is really going to be something to tell our children about, tell our grandchildren about even, about this investing environment, truly unprecedented. Some of the crises that we're going to live through, unprecedented. But boy, is it going to make a good story. Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, they all have job security for the next decade, just making little documentaries about these bank CEOs arrested, private investment firm blowing up, record vehicle repossessions. I think, actually, I came across a couple TikTokers. That makes for some pretty good mind-rot entertainment, is watching the TikTokers that are the repo guys. I get caught up watching some of those clips. I'm like, holy cow, I can't imagine having that job. To the 750 lawyers showing up at the first bankruptcy hearing for First Brands. The vultures are out. You need to understand who's actually your friend in this space. And in fact, I would just say, if you're here to make friends, you might get caught up in some trouble. I found that there's very few people that I can trust, especially in this cryptocurrency space. As I've been in the financial markets and covering it every day since 2021, I've learned just how bad it is. There's a lot of good people that get tied up in very bad investments. Half of America doesn't even know what their 401k is invested in, for crying out loud. Okay? So, guys, this is the opportunity at hand for us. We have to continue staying liquid. We have to get our orders ready on these platforms to buy and sell. I'm just going to share one more thing before we go rapid fire Q&A. We're right at the 1 hour mark. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you could like this video, I'd greatly appreciate that. I'm going to do about 30 minutes of rapid fire Q&A. So drop your question down below. But I was just having a one-on-one session with somebody today. And actually, I've had a few one-on-one sessions this week. And we've been talking with folks about getting your assets on the platforms now that you want to sell, whether that be XRP or other cryptos. We're not saying move all your crypto there. No, no, no. That is not what I do. And we don't tell anybody what to do. I just explain how I'm doing it, which is I keep my assets in institutional grade custody and cold storage for long term. Long term, cold storage, buried in the backyard, buried in a family trust, in institutional grade custody. And then what I want to sell, I have a little bit on Uphold. I have a little bit, well, not much on Coinbase anymore. I just futures trade on Coinbase. But I've put most of my assets now on Caleb and Brown in institutional grade custody. Now, next year, I'm planning on creating my Roth IRA using our good friend Mark Kohler's strategy for the backdoor mega Roth, where you can invest more than the 7,000 limit that's put on a Roth IRA. You're capped at 7,000 or 8,000 if you're a little bit older. His backdoor mega Roth structure allows us to invest 69,000 this year. I don't know what that's going to be for next year, but I'm hoping to put a pretty big allocation into a Roth IRA next year. And I will be using that and using the platform here, our sponsor, I Trust Capital. So I'm just going to get them plugged in here real quick for the new people who don't know. We've added I Trust Capital as a community resource because we want you to be able to get exposure in your retirement accounts today. You can roll over the 401k into a crypto IRA, get exposure to precious metals. You're going to be in institutional grade custody. You can earn yield if you're an accredited investor on your Bitcoin. You can also stake your Ethereum in the crypto IRA. You can do the same thing in your premium custody account as well. And so this is something to take advantage of. Institutional grade custody, no monthly fee. You're at a 1% transaction fee. Institutional custody, US-based support. And the kicker here, you want to make sure that you use my promo code RECTOR9 when you sign up to get that $100 funding bonus. Let me repeat, the promo code is RECTOR, all caps, RECTOR9 to get the $100 funding bonus. Thank you for allowing me to get in a quick word from our sponsor. Let's go rapid fire Q&A. I appreciate you for being here with us tonight. Let's get it going. Where are we at here? Let me catch up on these. For CJ Smith, legend. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. M-Dub, hey, Zach, when the reverse carry trade unwinds, what's your dollar guess? So I've explained this. We're going through a global margin call, and the Japan carry trade unwind is just one part of that. It's a much bigger problem, but that could really be a spark that sets this thing off. So we have to watch that dynamic right now between the US dollar and the Japanese yen. What are their bonds trading at versus what our bonds are trading at? What's the Fed interest rate decision going to be at the end of this month? Right after that is the Bank of Japan interest rate decision. So we have to watch that. In this margin call scenario, everything comes down. Pretty much everything gets beat up, right? But I've been saying we need to clear out the leverage out of crypto. We need to clear out the leverage out of our derivatives, out of private credit, out of private equity. We got bank CEOs being arrested, private investment firm, wire and security fraud, $500 million scheme. All of this has to be cleaned up before we can move forward. Japan carry trade unwind has to be done before we can move forward and know that we've passed the storm when it comes to the financial system, debt, currency, and liquidity crisis. We passed the storm when it came to the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. The government shutdown is going to end. That's been another storm that arrived, unfortunately, right? But looking at this global margin call, this is a serious situation across the entire world. You have to unwind all this toxic debt, derivatives, and loans, and then we can move forward and really have a level playing field. But the problem is we can't even figure out who owes what to who, right? The shadow asset class. So that's the problem right there. Yeah. But as far as price prediction on the other side, I mean, big. It's big numbers on the other side of this, guys. Ripple Ed, 5 spot. Hey, Zach, what odds do you put on the Fed bank license getting through unscathed and on time? Wondering if the banking system can squash or delay it. Well, we just saw Fed Governor Waller come out with his plan for a banking license light version. I don't like it. I mean, it's a good start, but we could do better. There's no reason why a crypto firm should have a lighter version of a Fed master account than a regular bank, right? In fact, some of these crypto firms like Ripple are in better positions than many banks, which I'm glad that you brought this up because it allows me to make this point. Ripple, we've been talking about this since FTX. When the article came out in 2022, and it was talking about Ripple picking over the carcass of FTX. It's a gruesome picture. But that's the position that Ripple's been in since 2022. And they acquired Standard Custody, they acquired Memecoin, they acquired Hidden Road, they acquired the stablecoin company Rail, and now they've acquired G Treasury. G Treasury and Hidden Road were both billion-dollar investments. I mean, Ripple is now positioned better than a lot of the banks in this country. A lot of financial institutions, Ripple is positioned better than them. Now, as far as that getting delayed, it's anyone's guess. It is due at the end of October. It should be passed by the end of October. Now, we've already seen one crypto firm get it. I forget the name of them. There's no reason why Ripple shouldn't get theirs. They should not get a light version. They should get the full bank charter and a full Fed master account, which I think are two separate things, right? But we're looking for them to get the bank charter by the end of this month. That's when it's due. So, yeah. As far as market impact, it's all perception. Perception is reality. So when the marketplace figures out, oh crap, Ripple actually is getting this bank charter, XRP is probably going to run. Yeah, I mean, it's going to add. It's going to be another bullish catalyst. I'm not looking for that to be our moonshot, but it's another catalyst that absolutely. And I've had a lot of people comment that in some of my recent timeline and target updates talking about the ETFs, treasuries. People keep on bringing up the bank charter. I don't think it's as big of a catalyst, but it's a box that Ripple gets to check off that many other crypto firms don't have a chance of checking off. So it should be passed it should be granted, I should say, by the end of October, but your guess is as good as mine on that one. Legacy Rideshare, thank you for the 20 spot. My apologies that your message has been retracted or missing. I don't know what the message was, so hopefully I can catch up on that later. Okay. I'm reading some comments here right now in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Legacy Rideshare, I hope that your question pops back up later. Okay. Appreciate that. Moonman, thank you. If I trust is crypto in, fiat out, does that mean when you deposit your XRP, they own it immediately and take custody of it? Yeah, so it's their closed loop system. It's a security measure, and that's for their premium custody account. I don't believe that this is the case for their crypto IRA. I believe that that's just for the premium custody account where you can only deposit crypto in, you cannot pull crypto out. The only thing that you can pull out is dollars to your bank account. So it's called the closed loop system. It secures your investment there on your platform, on their platform. The only thing that can happen if it was to get compromised or hacked, etc., is that the hacker would be able to pull dollars out to your account. That's it. So it has to be understood when you go into that premium custody account that yes, it is only crypto in, cash out. I don't believe that that's the case for the IRA, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, just check that limitation. But for example, if you know that you're going to sell off some assets in the next year, right, then you could just put it in there. It's in institutional grade custody, no monthly fee on that. So it's absolutely free. It's in the same institutional custody provider that Caleb and Brown uses, Fireblocks, same provider that BNY Mellon uses as well. And so, yeah, just understand that that closed loop system does have you only able to take US dollars out to your bank account. Hello, Zach. You and your market multiplier teachings have been repeatedly highlighted more and more by Good Evening Crypto, Paul Barron, Moon Lambo. It took a couple of years, but no matter. Godspeed to you and yours. I appreciate that. I think it's been one of the best contributions I've made to the community, has been my focus on that. I wanted to make a point on this, though. I didn't come up with it. The Bank for International Settlements did, which actually gives it more of a good standing and a little bit more reputation behind it. So you can talk about me, and I am happy, I appreciate the credit that people give me for the multiplier. The reason why I get so much credit for it is because we've covered it a lot, very extensively. And I think that we've done a very good job breaking that down for folks. And we're going to continue to do so. I think it's the number one thing to understand what leads to XRP's price going up or down is that market cap multiplier, observing the inflows and the outflows. And so we're going to keep on that. We're going to keep tracking that. But a huge shout out to the Bank for International Settlements for originally coming up with that white paper. They were trying to understand the multiplier on Bitcoin, on other cryptocurrencies. And at the time, they said that the more the currency gets used for payments, the higher that multiplier is going to be, the higher, the more of the asset that gets stored as a store of value. Obviously, that multiplier is going to be higher. So they put forward the initial equation, the initial idea, and then we've just been running with it ever since, and we've been tracking it. And I think that it's done a lot for helping people understand how XRP can go to $20 to $100 and even to $1,000, right? I've been saying, if you want to see XRP at $1,000, you need, what's the number? I'm trying to remember now, because I always talk about $100 XRPs at 6 trillion. I think that we said that you would need, now I'm not going to recall my numbers. I had these numbers memorized for $100 XRP and $1,000 XRP. I think that it was $1 trillion. I want to say, I think the number that I had was 500 billion to $1 trillion would get us to $1,000. I'm going to have to go back and check my numbers. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. And obviously that's always adjusting too, right? As more XRP gets locked up, that multiplier gets more dramatic. As the inflows come in faster during shorter periods of time, that gets more dramatic. So it's all subject to change. It's not perfect math or a perfect science, but I think it's been very helpful. Yeah. I'm glad to see more people covering it. Christopher, thank you for the 5 spot. Daniel, thank you. Hey, Zach, don't listen to the fudsters, man. You're a good dude, and don't pay attention to the people that are sour towards you. I wish you and your family the very best. Keep up the great work. Daniel, thank you. And I should mention, I made a joke on my video this morning about that being my last video for the year. Come on, you know me better than that. You know I'm not going anywhere. Now, some folks might want me to go away, but no, we're not going anywhere. You're only going to see more of us. Sorry if that disappoints you. Yep, we're not going anywhere. I joked about that after, because I knew, and this is where I just keep it real with you guys. Like, I'm not like, I don't think every day when I start my day, it's not like, okay, how can I come up with the best XRP clickbait hopium to get the most amount of views? Let me make the perfect thumbnail, the perfect O-face. I don't make O-faces. Although I did say that I was going to make one O-face video thumbnail when XRP goes above $5. So when XRP goes above $5 and you see me make an O-face thumbnail, with the shock face and the O, my apologies in advance. I don't start my day off by how do we deliver the most amount of XRP hopium. I started off with, what's going on today in relation to the markets, in relation to XRP, and what's most important for the community to understand today. And that's how I generate content on a daily basis. And, somebody asked me recently, how do you do it? Market's been down, you're getting killed out there. And I say, yeah, I am. But our fundamentals, they just keep getting better, right? So it'd be one thing if we were seeing partnerships fall apart. It'd be one thing if we weren't seeing ETFs or digital asset treasury companies getting filed and formed and XRP moving around to these treasury companies now. But when you can verify it, when you got real partnerships, tangible adoption, it's impossible to get bearish. And as these developments are happening every single day, and we like to cover the market going up and down, right? Some days I know, okay, I'm going to lead with some XRP hopium, but I also, just like I do in my live shows, right? We go through the bad, the ugly, and then we get to the good in the crypto. But I think that it's so important to understand all of this so that you can make these investments with real conviction, whether it be precious metals, your cryptos, you guys like stocks, or whatever business decision you're going to make, whatever next life path decision you're going to make. I want you to make it with conviction, whether that be buying precious metals, leaving your job, selling XRP, whatever it's going to be. I just want you to have conviction behind it. And I like to warn you guys when the market's going down, which is why I'm here every day. And we will be here every day for the foreseeable future. You know, once in a while I'll take a Sunday off maybe because I'm with the family. That's it. This is such a big opportunity to grasp. And even in my work, I know, even what I'm covering, I think it's so important. You know, we put out the content every day for you guys. Even in that, I know that I'm still missing other good cryptos to invest in. I'm missing good stock opportunities, you know, but what are we most effective at? And I think that we've really locked in our spot here, explaining the XRP opportunity, and then also behind it is those other fundamental utilities. You know, somebody was commenting today in the Discord about how I have ability to snuff out some of the fluff. You could call them scams in the project, right? You know, these projects in the crypto space. And, you know, that doesn't make friends in this space. That doesn't help my content do better either. And that doesn't make friends, as I said, right? So, you know, but I'm not going to be on here shilling a coin that I know is not with real utility. If I'm going to buy a crap coin based off of a momentum trade, a meme, a hype, then I'm going to tell you that's what it is. But I think it's so dishonest when I see content creators talking about a project that they know and I know and we all know does not have real institutional adoption. I mean, I watch TikTokers every day. Same script, different crap coin. Every single day. I just sold all my XRP so that I can invest in this crap coin on Solana. But they take it one step further. Not only do they lie about selling their XRP to go buy the crap coin, they say, oh, this coin is going to be adopted by Vanguard. I think that was, I forget the TikTok I watched the other day. They said that their crap, it was literally a meme coin on Solana. And they tried to say that Vanguard was going to adopt it, or BlackRock was going to adopt it. I forget what it was. But I was like, brother, do we have no shame out here? Like, just tell me that you're buying a crap coin and that you think it's going to catch some motion, that you think it's going to pump a little bit. But don't lie to me and tell me that BlackRock is going to adopt a crap coin on Solana. It's just disrespectful to me. Just tell me it's a meme coin, crap coin that might pump. You know, and when I make those plays, I tell you, hey guys, I made money here. I lost money here. This is what happens when you buy crap coins. Don't be like me. But these guys have no shame. First, they sold all of their XRP. Every day they sell XRP for a different Solana meme coin. I'm like, how much XRP do you got? How many times can you sell your entire bag of XRP? I hope that you guys get as much of a laugh out of it as I do. I mean, it's a clown show out here, man. It's a minefield. Anyways, I appreciate your support. Chris, good to see you with the 589. Appreciate that. The Versatile. I don't know what WGA means. What's WGA mean? Versatile. $10 XRP by the end of the year. Kind of sad for a 12-year-old coin. I hope it's way higher. It's tough out here. Yeah. Like I said, the timing of this gets interesting with the government shutdown and everything, right? It's just, I was saying this last year. I'm saying it today. If we haven't done it by the end of the year, then I'll be saying it next year. And that is, there's just a lot of people that want to sell between $5 and $10. And we got to get those sellers out of there, right? And now I do have a small sell order of XRP below $10. I'm going to be fully transparent with you guys because a lot of people wouldn't do this. You know, they'd be telling you, hey, XRP is going to 589. It's going to $1,000. Meanwhile, they're getting ready to dump it at $5 or, $10, right? I have a small portion of XRP for my trading bag that I made from XRP memes that I am going to sell under $10, right? But this is not my long-term holdings, the XRP that I've acquired over years. This is just part of my trading bag, and I'm going to capitalize on that, and I am going to sell off some XRP on the way up to $10. And so we got to get those sellers out of there. We got to get my little sell orders out of there. Some of you guys are going to sell some XRP, and I'm not shaming. Let me be very clear. I'm acknowledging that I have my little sell order. You guys have a little sell order. I talk to people from time to time that have big sell orders at those levels, and that's okay, right? We have to do this. This is how markets mature. And God bless all of you guys that aren't going to sell a dang XRP under $10. I think it's going to work out really good for you. In fact, I spoke with a guy today, and that was our conversation, was we didn't need it. We don't need it this year. In fact, I'm having to now go through because my state now has a capital gains tax as well. So anything over $250,000 in capital gains, I have to pay an additional 7% state income capital gains tax. Well, they don't call it an income tax because we're not allowed to have an income tax per our state constitution. So what do the geniuses do in Olympia? They do a workaround for a capital gains tax. But it's only going to go after the rich, right? I don't feel so rich. I'm building wealth. I'm trying to get there. But goodness gracious, 250,000. So I got to look at my numbers and see, because if I sell off a little bit of my XRP, next thing I know, if I have 300,000 of capital gains on the year, on 50 grand of that, I'm paying 7% to the state of Washington. On top of the third highest gas tax in the country. On top of the rest of the stupidity that we have to put up with out here. You can kiss me and my assets goodbye because we're leaving. We're getting out of here. I don't know. I might have to go join. These guys down in Puerto Rico are crazy. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Definitely getting the assets out. But yeah, this is something for everybody to consider right now. Is what are your tax implications going to be? How much XRP or other assets do you want to sell? Getting it in position right now. I was talking with somebody about getting it on Caleb and Brown. It's like, if you want to sell it, you don't want to just hold it in cold storage right now when you know that the targets that you might want to sell at are coming up around the corner. You don't want to wait till it's crunch time when markets are going to be blowing up, centralized exchanges are going to be blowing up, and then you're trying to move your crypto from your cold storage into the exchange. You're trying to get your sell order through. You hit a market order, and the exchange is going to hit you on spread of 3 to 5%, maybe worse. And so you're saying, oh gosh, Caleb and Brown's so expensive at 3.5. Let me go to the centralized exchange. The centralized exchange hits you on 4% spread plus a transaction fee, plus a withdrawal fee, plus a withdrawal limit. The next thing you know, you thought you were going to cash out a milli. Now you're feeling silly. Okay? You need to understand your limitations on all of these platforms, centralized exchanges, brokerage platforms, how to utilize the DEX, all of it. Keep your options open. and get your assets ready. Okay? Puerto Rico ain't worth it, somebody said. I know. I know. I know. I mean, the weather looks nice, but it also looks like they get smacked by a hurricane every year too. Some serious storms too. Yeah. And that's the thing is, some of these tax favored jurisdictions, like, I'm not taking my family to Dubai. Like, I understand it's very nice. It's very nice, right? We're just not going to do that. Like, that's not my move, right? So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's always fun. Of course, the only way that I can numb the pain filling up at the tank these days is when I swipe my Gemini XRP card, and at least I get 4% back on my gas and diesel purchases. So that helps a little bit. Somebody said go to Florida. Yeah, I'm waiting. The race is on. That's the fun part, is we get to watch all these states compete for our investment capital and our businesses. Yeah. Now, the versatile, I was reading through your comments before I started going on that rant, that tangent. Where did that comment go? Yeah. $10 XRP by the end of the year. And the point that I was making is that we got to clear out those sellers. But I'm looking at next year, we're easily going to be into double digits. And it's looking like the base case is going to be a $15 to $20 XRP. Very well could go up towards $30. It's just with the government shutdown and the ETF delays, and then the Clarity Act being delayed too. We need broader market regulations set through the Clarity Act. We got the Genius Act for the stablecoins. We need the ETFs to go live, and then that'll all happen as soon as the shutdown ends. So yeah, it sucks. It is unfortunate, but then you also got to look at the flip side. It's allowed me to build up my XRP long. It's allowed a lot of new people who bought in above $3 to bring down their average. That's what I did on my XRP long. My XRP long was started at 340, averaged all the way down to 292, took profit at 308 before liquidation event September 20th. Rode the sucker back down, and now my average is at 244, I think. 244. But the size of the position has grown fivefold. So now when XRP does swing back up, this has been a swing trade that I've been in since July. Definitely not a day trade. Definitely not. I don't recommend this life for anybody. I don't recommend this trading. I don't do trading signals or anything like that. I just play my cards a little bit differently in a way that allows me to make money on the margin, not necessarily on having to nail it day to day. But it's also allowed me to show how you properly dollar cost average. For example, if you first bought into XRP in July above 340, but you just kept dollar cost averaging down here, you could take advantage of this opportunity to lower your average. And even more important than your average, get that number up. Your first 1,000 XRP, your first 10,000 XRP, your first 100,000 XRP, your first million XRP. Is that number high enough? Right? You have the opportunity to bring your average below $3 right now. And I think it's a great opportunity for new folks. I think it's a great opportunity for folks that are looking to diversify, who already have big bags of XRP, but you could pick up XLM, HBAR, and some of these others that still have a lot of room to run. And the best thing that happened for all these other altcoins, I was starting to lower my targets. I did lower my targets on XLM, HBAR, and some of these others, but that was before the generic listing standard went live with the SEC. See, once the SEC approved the generic listing standard, that streamlines the process for those altcoins to get ETFs. That's a big, big difference. Very bullish. Because I was worried that these projects weren't going to get ETFs for 12 to 24 months. So that was big. Let's continue with our super chats here. Zach, I also meant to say good evening, crypto. And the Firefox AI search assistant does an excellent job of breaking down your market cap multiplier as well. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, I'm starting to see more people have been saying that the AI is now pulling my multiplier. Now you got to, put in a prompt that's going to kind of, ask about the multiplier or to bring it up. But it appears that the AI is doing a very good job of breaking down the multiplier, like how it's calculated, what it means, how it can vary. Doesn't always have the answer, but that's AI right now, right? You don't get a perfect answer every time, right? If you don't know how to prompt the AI, you're not going to be effective using those tools. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's doing a good job with the multiplier. That's good. Brian Orego, thoughts on Telcoin? A lot of people have been asking me to review it. I've been meaning to look at it for quite some time, and so I need to do that. I'm going to write that one down actually and add it to my list because I know so many people have asked me about it. I've worked through my list. I was working through my list for altcoins on October 10th when the liquidation event happened, and I felt like an idiot because I'm sitting here doing fundamental research on these cryptos. I'm looking at the tokenomics. Is it going to get an ETF? Are there digital asset treasury companies? Does it have any real institutional adoption? Then I go to the tokenomics and I'm sitting here with my notepad and my paper and I got my chart and I'm doing my deal, asking Grok, let's verify, back test a few things. And then the entire market blows up. And I'm watching a death candle come in on every single chart. And I'm thinking to myself, well, just throw my research up in the air, throw it out the window. I'm sitting here doing fundamental research while we're getting cleaned up. I felt like an idiot, but fundamental research still is important to do. It's just, I was a little discouraged when I was I think I was even playing some classical music. I'm just vibing out here. It's all good. We got peace. I remember actually because my wife, she was finishing up her school. Huge shout out to my wife. She actually just finished up to get her bachelor's degree for elementary education. Very, very proud of her. She's done a great job. But she was actually testing. She was up here with me. And I remember she was getting ready for a test, big test. She's getting ready for it. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh. She's over here getting ready to study. I forget what the test was for, social studies or something, some test here. And I'm just looking at our net worth evaporate. Honey, everything's fine. Don't worry. No, it's good. Go have a great test, babe. You're going to crush it. I'm just watching our net worth. And I remember I was laughing and she asked me, how are you laughing right now? And I said, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else I can do. When you've lived through these moments multiple times, you just sit back and laugh. Good times. Good times. We'll always remember it. You guys are talking about places to live at. Hawaii. Yeah, it's beautiful there. Yeah. Wait till it hits 750. Yeah, man. Where do I get my silver from? It's a good question. I've bought all of my silver from my local dealer, which I've been meaning to go in and visit him because it's been a while since I bought any silver. But I was going to go in and visit him and see how business has been, get a gauge on the market. But right now for community resources, I have Andy Scheckman plugged in from Miles Franklin, over 34 years in business, one of the best in the precious metals business. So we have him plugged in, and then iTrust Capital now is the community resource for investing a retirement account, your IRA in precious metals. You can do that through iTrust Capital as well. So I haven't bought precious metals through iTrust. I actually haven't bought precious metals through Andy Scheckman. All of my silver was bought from my local dealer. This is something that I encourage for everybody, is to establish a relationship with your local precious metals person so that you have that repertoire. They know who you are. And so if you need to go in and trade, you can. but your best deals can come, online. These platforms will run specials. And so you kind of just got to watch it. But it's the same thing, just like with crypto exchanges, where you keep a couple options. Keep a couple options. And then when somebody's running a special on, junk silver or, silver eagles, whatever it may be, you can grab that up. And you want service too. Because if you ever go to sell it back or you want to trade into gold and silver, Andy Schectman doesn't charge you on that swap, I don't believe. Whatever they charge, it's some of the best and most fair pricing in the business. So I really appreciate Andy's. We consider him a friend now. Stu, thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, Dennis, I have no doubt that the missing first 32,000 blocks would reveal NSA Bitcoin links, in spite of David Schwartz saying not. It'd be fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a connection there, but, specifically with the missing ledgers, I don't know what that's about, if that's a connection, but there's definitely an interesting connection there with David. And the fact that he brought that up on the 3-year anniversary, so interesting. Mrs. Claus, thank you. Hi, Zach. It seems so many think that Bitcoin will fail or dump in price. Wouldn't you think that it would make a lot of folks lose faith in XRP as cryptocurrency, even though XRP is different than Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, we need to decouple from Bitcoin, right? That's the big problem and frustration that so many of us have had. And I think that it's only going to decouple with utility and ETFs. That's what's going to finally allow XRP to decouple. So if we are going to decouple and Bitcoin is going to go down, we want to have our ETFs in position. We want to have our digital asset treasury companies adding XRP. We want to have institutional adoption, utility, and DeFi. Then it's okay. Then Bitcoin can go down. But yeah, in this environment, before all that's taking place, just like on October 10th, when Bitcoin and the entire market came down, so did XRP. So for the time being, we're coupled up and correlated, but eventually our utility, ETFs, etc. will allow us to decouple. Rick Johnson, and this is why I say I'm rooting for Bitcoin too. Send Bitcoin to 200,000, send it to 1 million. It's good for our space. It'll give the Bitcoin bros more money to rotate over into XRP. That'll be good. We're rooting for them. I don't think it's going to 200,000 this cycle. Eric Trump says it's going to 200,000 this year. I think that Eric is wrong, but that's okay. And I would love to be wrong. I would love for it to go that high. We'll see. Rick, thank you. Will we be able to sell our XRP to exchanges like Kraken, Coinbase, etc. when it hits 1,000? Will exchanges even list, carry, and buy at those prices? Yeah, because they can always do a spread. And that spread can get even more dramatic too. Now, at that price, the markets would be much more mature. So I would imagine there would be a lot more liquidity and a lot tighter spreads. But yeah, I mean, they make money on the buying and the selling of the assets. So either way, no matter what the price is, they're going to be able to do so. Remember, it's not you selling to Coinbase necessarily. It's Coinbase filling your order with a buyer on the other side, right? So they're taking money from Joe and they're going to buy Bob's XRP. Bob's XRP isn't bought with the exchange's money. It's bought with Joe's money, or whatever the name was that I said, right? You get the example. So it's not the exchanges that are ever going to lose in that scenario, right? And as the markets get more volatile, they can charge and get away with higher fees and more spread. So, when XRP does go to triple digits, I think that you're going to be in a much more mature environment. People will be much more aware of these spreads, but these exchanges, yeah, they're going to be happy to sell it no matter what the price is. Yeah. But this is why I like Caleb and Brown, because they're just upfront with the transaction fee. Like, I know what it's going to be before I make my trade. There's no hidden spread. There's no hidden fees. There's no slippage. It's just simple, straightforward business. CJ says, but how long until the market cap multiplier doesn't keep increasing? Bitcoin had same until it had lots of liquidity. Now market cap multiplier for Bitcoin is between 1 and 5. Yeah, and that's kind of, reverting back to the last point. The market cap multiplier is not going to be as dramatic when XRP goes up to the higher prices, right? So that is important to understand. But it is going to get more dramatic, and it is going to be higher if we see certain periods where the inflows are compressed. For example, ETFs go live, 5 to 10 billion inflows first month. I've remained very conservative on my numbers, right? Very conservative on my numbers. We could see the multiplier be a lot more dramatic. We could see the inflows be a lot higher. And so it's always going to fluctuate. Like I said, it's not perfect math. The math is the math, right? The math is the math. It's just variables. What was the inflow or outflow? What was the net flow? What was the change in market cap? And that gives you the multiplier. So the math is perfect. The equation is perfect, but it always is adjusting, right? The variables are always fluctuating. The net flows are always fluctuating. The change in market cap is always fluctuating. And it's derived from the velocity of money coming in or out. That's the big variable, is the velocity variable. So we're running with conservative assumptions, simple math, and we're still getting to a $20 to $30 base case. It is so easy for me to show you how we get to a $50 or $100 XRP. Yeah. So for $100 XRP, we're looking at a few hundred billion of inflows, right, conservatively. Okay. And that's where I think I was off. Yeah. So it's to get to $100, it would be a few hundred billion in inflows being conservative. And to get to $1,000, it would be a couple trillion in inflows to get us up to a market cap of 50 trillion. Because you need to times it by 100 just to be conservative. That multiplier could be 200, 300, 400. But like you said, that multiplier most likely is not going to be as big as the asset grows, as more liquidity grows, as the liquidity deepens. That multiplier is not going to be as big. Now, the other thing that can impact, though, is the supply. If there's way less XRP available than we think, that multiplier could even be higher, right? We're thinking right now that there's almost 60 billion circulating. A lot of estimates say that there's probably only 5 to 10 billion that's available on retail exchanges right now, with more that's on the exchanges, but how many people are willing to sell? At the current prices, there's not that much of a float on available XRP. All of my XRP is, mostly in cold storage or institutional grade custody, and it's not moving till we're at much higher prices. So the real true circulating supply, like the true float available for somebody to buy, is probably, less than 5 billion. Now, Ripple is the party to watch because they control the faucet. And the other hidden variable that we don't know exactly, we just speculate on, is how much XRP has been pre-allocated. I hope that I'm breaking this down in simple enough terms for the new folks to understand, but also helping out for those of you guys that have been here for a while. This should add some more conviction behind this investment as you see how easy it's going to be for us to get to those higher prices. That's been the big unlock for the multiplier for me, is I thought that it was going to take, $100 XRP at a 60 billion circulating supply is a $6 trillion market cap. Now, in the old way of thinking, in the market cap way of thinking, one would suggest that you would need, 5 to 6 trillion of capital to flow into XRP to hit $100. What this multiplier is showing us is that it's much less. It might only be a couple hundred, 200, 300 billion to get us to that market cap of 6 trillion. people say you're out of your absolute mind, you're out of your ever-loving mind to suggest that XRP could go to $1,000 because it would have a market cap of 60 trillion. You just add a zero. What they don't understand is that you don't need 60 trillion of inflows, right? You need much less. Much less. Okay. But folks, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's live show. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. We've gone live for an hour and 45 minutes. I hope that I got most of the questions answered. If I missed your question, feel free to drop it in the comments. I read all of your guys' comments. So after we end this live show, just drop a comment down below. I'll read it and I can answer it in one of my upcoming videos or in one of our next live shows. We do this every Tuesday, Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern for our live show. We do our Discord weekly call at 11:30 a.m. every Saturday. So come on back for that. We're going to do that here in a couple days. That'll be an important update. We had a very important update last week at our Discord weekly call. And it's just so important to have, a community of like-minded individuals surrounding you right now. If you need that, get tapped in with our private community. You access it through Patreon to get into our Discord group. And then all of our other community resources are available at zacrector.com. My final request is that you like this video, help us out by sharing it out far and wide. Really do appreciate you for stopping by here tonight. And I will see you guys tomorrow in the next one, okay? God bless you all. Thank you.